Hey guys, this is RuRoniK95 here, and once again, it is time for a manga review video for the first time. Last time we already took a look back on reviewing the first volume of Ranma Half, which is my previous manga review video that I have been done before. Here's another one that I have forgot to do, something I should have done, especially if you want to review a manga book as well. Because the other manga volumes, I might need to get more of Ranma Half, probably in the nearest future, especially if you're a manga reader as well. Today, we're going to be doing a manga review on Ranma Half Volume 2 on here. This is another manga volume on here. This is the Viz Media edition of Ranma Half, by the way. Yeah, this is something that I haven't reviewed until now. Yeah. And we're going to be discussing about the chapters and the story, thus how it went. So, the rainy day has come, and Ryoga, who was still searching for Ranma, who was starting a battle when the night has fallen, he notices that he found the Tendo Training Hall, which I believe that's where Ranma Sawatome is at, and then that wasn't long until Ryoga told Ranma to wake up, and that's how but that's before, but he punched the pillow instead. And then, for all of this reason is that, and then Ryoga told Ranma, wake up, as well. And that's how the battle begins, especially in this part of the manga, as well. But, the rain has turned Ranma into the girl form of himself, as well. And that's how... because that's how Ryoga wanted to start revenge of what Ranma did to him as well. Especially how the conflict battle betweens. And that's how it all happened as the night has gone happening, especially in this one. Especially of how you noticed. And then that's how it got interrupted in this part of the chapter of the manga as well. But yeah, that's how water has the effect on Ryoga. But that wasn't long until something has transformed Ryoga. And then, for all of a sudden, is that all this happened. From what I understand, though, especially how... And Ranma couldn't understand that he found Ryoga's belongings, if he could understand, until Ranma notices something there in this chapter in the manga here, from what I understand. There was a dog in this, but then Akane doesn't know something happened as well. But she doesn't realize if there was a burglar, especially in this chapter, but something attacked a small helpless one as well. But it was actually Ryoga in his pig form, but she doesn't know if the pig was wearing Ryoga's bandana in this part, in the chapter of this particular manga, like this one here. And for all of us think, she doesn't know if you could understand, especially it was a pig. It was a little black pig, which is the piglet, which is Ryoga becomes. Especially take notice on this chapter of the manga, though, because you know what I mean. It's a little piglet, though. Especially, it has a bump on the back of Ryoga, the little piglet's head on there. And then something just goes on quite well about what happens. Ranma could have understood, though, if the dog is Ryoga, but it wasn't. Especially if something confusion happened as well, that's how Ranma must have been dazed or something. But it was a pig, though. Yeah, especially in this manga as well, from what I understand. Yeah, because if he couldn't understand, though, from what I want to know for this one, but it was actually a pig. Yeah, the pig might hit it Ranma in the back of the head, if you notice in this chapter in the manga. Ranma could have known about the dog. Ranma could have understand if Ryoga is the dog in this, but it was a misunderstanding. But it was actually Yamane's dog in this chapter of the manga. Yeah, in this part. But then Ranma could have understand if he pours the hot water on the dog, but no, it doesn't. Yeah, because Ryoga is in the form as the pig in this one. Yeah, especially of how you would take note on this. But when he tried to give the little piglet a bath in there, but in the hot water, but the hot water reverses back to Ryoga, and that's how it sets up Ranma, and that's how the fight between Ranma and Ryoga happened in this manga. And that's how he originated about how Ryoga has fell into the spring of drowned pig. And that's how it happened in Junsenkyo, when Ryoga is searching for somewhere. If he could have known, if he would have understand if Ranma's around here, but that's just how things just go. But that's how Ryoga ends up falling into the spring of drowned pig in this part. It's one of those cursed ponds, and that turned Ryoga into the pig, especially in this chapter in the manga. Like, take notice on that as well, from what I understand, though. But then that's how something happened, changes Ryoga into the human form. But that's how hot water reflects on Ryoga to transform to his human form. But the cold water affects his Ryoga into the pig form, though. Yeah, and that's how, if he could have noticed something of all the commotion happening, especially how if Ryoga knows it was Ranma that made Ryoga fall into the spring of drowned pig, but the water turns Ryoga into the pig form, and the pig bites Ranma in it, and that's how it causes the ruckus. The racket about of how this conflict between them. If you could have understand, particularly in this chapter of the manga, from what I understand, though, if he doesn't realize, though, and that's how the misunderstanding, and though, of how you would expect in this chapter of the manga. Nightfall has come, and Ranma could have understand if the cold wanted to know something, if he could put the water on the pig, but then it sets them off, and that's how the fight continues. But if they could have known, if he could understand, especially in this one as well. And that leads you to the third chapter of this manga, especially in this one as well. The next day comes, and Ranma, who is basically wanted to go out somewhere until something mysterious of this appeared, especially on this chapter of the manga. Especially what Ranma could have known that is something happening about a girl who fights off another girl who fights off one of those with the bandages. Especially if you take notice on this chapter, her name is Kodachi Kuno, and that's the first appearance as well. Take note on that, because she couldn't know if it was an ordinary girl And that's how the conflict goes, especially in this chapter of the manga in Ranma half, though. And take note on this, though. And that's how she refers to herself as the Black Rose. And then she took off after she passes out Ranma as... because this girl introduced herself as Kodachi the Black Rose, especially in this chapter. And then she took off with her laughing in this one. Yeah, and that's how the humiliation comes, because these people are from the Furinken rhythmic gymnastic team, especially those girls that Kodachi Kuno was having the conflict with. Especially something happened in the Nintendo training hall about something happening about the rhythmic gymnastics, especially in this chapter of the manga, of how it progresses, of how something just goes quite well, particularly in this manga, though. Like, take note on that. And that's how if they could understand of how Akane notices the ribbon, especially in this chapter, though, in this manga, like this especially, though. Ranma could have understand something if he could know about this, though. Yeah. Something how doesn't seem quite well, especially in this chapter of the manga. But then that wasn't long until Ryoga happened. And then, because, Akane named it P-chan as well. Because Ryoga notices that the conflict between him and Ranma once again in this chapter as well. If they could have known if this just goes by as well, if you take note on this as well, and that's how the night has come, and Kodachi Kun, the Black Rose herself, knows it was Akane who wants to start the trouble, though. And that's how the night has fallen, and something just goes quite well, especially in this manga, just goes by as well, of how the story progresses. And that's how you take notice on this, especially if the Ryoga has fallen into the spring of drowned pig. It's fallen to the water, and Ryoga becomes the pig again, which goes by P-chan in this chapter of the manga. Take notice on that as well. But this how Akane was feeling exhausted when she went off to the bed, but then that wasn't long until I think Kodachi the Black Rose appeared in this chapter of the manga, though. If she could have known, though, because Kodachi Kuno came from Bacchus' school for girls, especially St. Bacchus' school for girls in this one. And that's how the conflict between her and Akane progresses in this chapter of the manga. Especially if he could have known. But that wasn't until Ranma had wanted to stop Ryoga, P-chan, though. And that's how the fight between us. But then just took off, if they could understand, though. Especially in this chapter of the manga. But then Kodachi, the Black Rose, shall return if she can battle Akane in this chapter of the manga, and as a rematch. But that's how the night comes. And then Kodachi notices it was P-chan, but then Ranma wanted to stop it. But then P-chan, which Ryoga becomes in this chapter of the manga, like this especially, from what I understand, though. Yeah. But then but Kodachi Kuno could understand if Ranma is actually the boy, especially in this one. Yeah. Take notice on this chapter in the manga, though. Yeah. But this wasn't how it seems to go quite well. If she would have understand if Kodachi has the hots for Ranma in this chapter of the manga in Ranma Half Volume 2, though. Especially if you could understand until chapter 5 progresses of how this goes as well. The next morning comes and Kodachi Kuno prepares to attack Akane in this all along, especially from the other night in this chapter, though, from what I understand as well. Yeah, and that's how the progresses go. Those is how the ambushing, challenging fights as well, especially how it's right on as how the until the because she couldn't understand though if she can follow Ranma in this part of the manga like this one as well. Yeah, and then she could have know something happening about the roses as well when Tadawaki Kuno later appeared. If she could have understand though, especially in this chapter, in this, if you can take notice on this in this manga like that as well, and if for all this thing goes, especially about fiance rivalry, especially in this chapter, like there, especially what Kodachi Kuno wanted to do something, because Tadawaki Kuno couldn't understand though if Kodachi the Black Rose is Tadawaki Kuno's sister of the Kuno family as well. And then Kodachi Kuno in high school, appears. So the story goes on after Kodachi Kuno has disappeared, and then you notice something in the manga, and Tadawaki Kuno said that the girl was such a pervert, but even so, Rama Sawatome, what Tadawaki Kuno said in this one. Yeah, he told Rama to take care of Tadawaki Kuno's sister because he realized that Kodachi Kuno is part of the Kuno family in this part of the manga, and especially in this chapter of the manga, because I think from what you notice in this chapter, if you know it in that one as well, from what I understand, the evening comes and that's particularly how basically you take notice on this on the manga chapter though. From what I understand though, is that you want to take seeing of how preparing on this. If you take notice on the chapter of this manga though, take note on this one as well. And also not only that, because if he could realize, Rama could have realized if trying to battle Kodachi Kuno in this chapter of the manga. And then that's how you notice that, and that wasn't long until P-chan came in this chapter of the manga part, I know, especially in that one. If you want to pause and check this out though, if they could have known about this though, and that's how practicing for the fight and all, especially in this chapter. But that wasn't long until Akane has broken her foot as well. And that's how shit always happens. If things just going quite well, as you would expect. But that wasn't long until Ryoga splashes cold water on Ranma, which Ranma becomes the girl form in this chapter part, I found. Moving on, and that's how Ranma prepares for the gymnastics battle as well. And then that's how he starts the fight between him and Ryoga in this part, if you can take notice in this one as well. Not only that, you also have things just going and prepare for the duel fight as well. If Ranma's going pretty good in this chapter, I know, as how, if he could have understand, especially if he wants to battle with Kodachi Kuno, especially when Ranma is still in his girl form, and he starts to practice on how he fights, because Ranma has no intention of dating Kodachi Kuno in this part. Well, he's fighting with Ryoga in that one, but Ranma's still in the girl form, actually, which I understand, though. And that's how it was from night until morning, especially how they've been done that since from the middle of the night till morning, as well. You when the morning comes as well. Morning comes and Ranma and Ryoga are still fighting since they're practicing as well. From night till morning, that's how it goes. And this happened at St. Bacchus School for Girls, especially of how if Kodachi Kuno could have understand if Ranma's in the girl form, especially in this part for the rival fight as well. Yeah, and that's how you would expect of how when Ryoga wants going out and he wants to have the love for Akane, but the water splashed on Ryoga and it turns him into Pichan, and Kodachi Kuno notices that if Ryoga is in the pig, if the pig is Ryoga in that one, and if he could have known, and that's how the champion battle how it begins, and this is how it takes place in the tournament, and this, which is in the ring, which you notice in that part in the manga of how the competition rivals starts. It's between Ranma and Kodachi, the Black Rose herself, which he could have known, especially how it's given to a thing is that how you notice take on that one as well. If you read the manga though, and that's how the thing of how they were gonna, and then that's how Ranma was cuffed up on the chains, especially with the fight between him and Pichan, when in the whole hot and cold competition and tournament, how it goes in this particular part. Things just go quite well when between Ranma and Kodachi. If they want to fight or lose in other parts of this, if you take notice on this, and that's how Ranma tries to start the battle though, between him and Kodachi, the Black Rose herself, in this manga, and that's how things just go. Quite frankly, of how if he would have determined to defeat her, or if he would have lost in at this point, as of how this things just goes, especially from how the tournament goes. Yeah, take a quick sight on this one as well. From what I understand, though, especially when the tournament goes on between him and between Ranma and Kodachi, especially for the, and she always wants to got the water to put on Ranma, but he had the surrendering, but then that's how something really happened of how it goes between hot water and the cold water battle, especially in this chapter on I know of how this progresses, and that's how you would expect between how it goes on, especially accepting from the challenge of what Ranma had a lot to do to defeat Kodachi, the Black Rose herself. If he would have lost or won, but that's how the ring has moved in a brouhaha certain type of situation in this part of the manga. From what I understand is that you notice as well, and that's how the chaos just goes in the there and the mess everywhere in the ring though. During the continuation of the battle between between Ranma and Kodachi, how it goes, especially of how you take in the rhythmic gymnast tournament rival battle goes, especially in this chapter, especially as well. But Kodachi, the Black Rose herself, was defeated when Ranma has won in this part. By this time, of course, Ranma and Akane in the ice skating, the ice practice in the ice rink though, and there was a rival of about some girl particular notices the little black pig, which goes by the name Charlotte in that one. Quite really odd though, but Ranma could have understand if something really happened of how you take notice in this chapter, like there, from what I understand as well. What I can explain, though, is that how ironic is how somebody got P-chan. If Akane wanted to tell Ranma to find P-chan, especially that some other girl who calls P-chan as Charlotte, especially how the conflict, how it starts, how it's provoking, of how it's settling it off as well. And yeah, things just going how, quite frankly, yeah, but till the guy gives P-chan back to Akane, especially in this chapter of the manga part in volume 2 of Ranma half, though. And this girl who calls P-chan Charlotte was complaining that she wants the pig, though, especially during the champion ice skating rink rival, especially in this part about between the names either P-chan or Charlotte. It's just a different names of how things just going as well, from how things didn't go as expected as how you've noticed in this part of the manga as well. If Ranma would have wanted to know about something, it's just going quite pretty well in this part of the manga, from what I understand. And from what I want to know is that about who is the real ice skater, like who is calling Ryoga Charlotte, or if it's P-chan, why does it do this? Especially in the ice skating rink, especially you notice in this manga, from what I understand. The next day comes as how, of course, especially until until the same girl from before appeared, who is in this part in the manga. From what I understand, I suppose, about whose little friend is, especially in this part of the manga. Yeah, until you take notice for this one as well. Yeah. And that's how the rival goes. Why, if it's quite well, though, between the battle and the conflicts, it's like defeating all the these hockey players in the battle conflict you see in that manga what you see in volume 2 of Ranma half. If it's a lot more very different, as it was if you watch the anime, though, especially the martial skating rink, as what you noticed in that part of this manga. Especially that's when P-chan comes on, and between the names either P-chan or Charlotte. Yeah, especially how this happens in this manga at this point, from what I understand, though. Yeah, the rivalry about changing the different names. Yeah, and that's how this boy almost kissed Ranma in his girl form, but took off, though. About how innocent about is being either kissed by a boy or a girl in this part, from what I understand. And if you ever read this manga or if you watch the anime, if Ranma could have understand, though, about how it's happened, especially the challenging and the conflict and the brouhaha sort of a circumstance, how in a hot and cold situation going on in this part, from what I understand. It didn't seem to go as expected of how the humiliation starts in this part, from what I understand as well. By this time, of course, he falls into the ice-cold water part in the rink. If something affects Ranma in either, but I don't know if you could know about this, but it was, if it was at this point, as if there was water in it. But if you would notice in this, if you take note on that, and that's how the conflict between some bloke and Ranma, who are in the fighting skating on the ice rink, is in a cross between hybrids of a martial arts on ice skating rink, especially if you take as expect seen something from before in this particular part of the manga. And that's how things gone as expected, as Like, how does the humiliation has got to Ranma? Why does he keep getting all things? Until there was some doodle on the face about how this guy is unconscious. And if you pause and want to see the chapters of the manga, especially those as well, from how they think he was some handsome boy, but something has weirding him out as how he keeps getting all these thoughts of how, why does it happen? Why did he got these bandages though? As how a certain type of way as well, you would have got the thing is from how you would have understand as well, particularly in this part as well. If Ranma and Akane had a lot to do for, if there were such late bloomers, until this guy who has got doodle on his face that one match by day, if he wants revenge, that this some dude with some writing on his face wanted revenge on Ranma at this part, where it's left off on it's to be continued, where we can get to on the 3rd volume of Ranma half at this point. So that's my manga review on Ranma half volume 2 for today, though, because even though I have already touched back on reviewing the 1st volume of Ranma half, this is the first time I wanted to do a manga review on the 3rd volume of the 2nd volume of Ranma half, which I believe is volume 2, because why not? This what definitely takes the cake, though, because why not? Because I wanted to do a manga review on volume 2 of Ranma half for the first time, though. Yeah, didn't you notice that the first 2 volumes of Ranma half were also available in these 2-in-1 editions that were put out by Viz Media on these manga, where they combining 2 of these volumes, like the first 2 and those 2-in-1 editions, because that'll basically help you understand how the story goes and how it progresses in this one. Because I think this starts off after the 1st volume of Ranma half as well. So that's going to be it for my manga review on Ranma half volume 2 for today's manga review for today, you guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this one. Even though I've already reviewed Ranma half volume 1 on my previous video, if you haven't seen it, link is in the description if you want to check out my manga review on Ranma half volume 1 at your leisure at this point as well. Hope subscribe for content. My Anime Planet link in the description. You can share this video on your Twitter and Facebook if you have Twitter and Facebook account on all social media. Smack the like button if you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave in the comments section below on this video if you like as well. Also, be sure to leave in the comments about what do you think of from this, how the story progresses from Ranma half volume 2 manga is about in the description below, and what are your thoughts in the contrast between the original manga and the anime adaptation in the comments section below also as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RuRoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel as a newcomer. Smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well. And keep it otaku for this manga review, because this is the first time I get to do a manga review on Ranma half volume 2 for the first time, though. This is RuRoniK95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. I hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon for the next video, and hope you have a great day. And also, this is RuRoniK95 signing off, and thank you for watching my video, and I will see you soon for more videos at one point.